Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome to this exclusive video interview series brought to you by Oracle in association with People Matters. I'm Yasmin, Senior Editor with People Matters, and I'll be your host for this conversation. Oracle, in association with People Matters, is curating a series of video interviews titled The Reboot Toolkit: HR's Guide to Reimagine the Workplace. We all know that the workplace is going to be new for HR too. There's a growing consensus among HR and business leaders that the emerging new workplace will be hybrid in nature. This means companies need to reimagine and redesign their strategies. From recruiting, experience, and skilling, companies will need to rethink workplace practices in a way that enables them to make optimum use of talent with flexibility as a key business value proposition. In order to understand more on this, we have in focus three industries: BFSI, healthcare, and ITES, from which renowned industry leaders of top notch organizations will share their invaluable inputs on various facets of reimagining work. These inputs will be stitched together in a form of a first of its kind video ebook, which is designed to give you a holistic view of the emerging future, technology priorities, and strategic action steps that business and HR leaders need to be thinking about. This video ebook features some of the best and brightest leaders reflecting on the principles that they will rely on to make the most of a quickly changing marketplace. And today it is my pleasure to welcome Shailesh Singh, Director and Chief People Officer at Max Life Insurance Company Limited. With over 25 years of experience in delivering world class people agenda and culture, Shailesh is strongly inclined towards the art of leadership and always believes in empowering people to turn into leaders and further empower people around them. In his current role, Shailesh is responsible for developing and implementing successful human resources strategies that support long term growth and transformation of the organization. Thank you so much for joining us today, Shailesh. It is a pleasure to have you join us. We also have Shaakun Khanna, Head of HCM Applications, Asia Pacific at Oracle Corporation, who leads the strategy and business development for Oracle Human Capital Management applications for the Asia Pacific region. Thank you so much, Shaakun, for joining us today, and would like to welcome both of you once again to this exclusive video interview and looking forward to a great conversation. And without further ado, let's begin with our first question. And Shailesh, my question to you would be first. So, when you look at the landscape of technology, what, according to you, are the top emerging technology priorities emerging for a hybrid workplace, which would be a mixture of remote and office?
Yasmin, these are evolving times, and therefore the landscape is really changing fast. Over the last 7 months, we have seen stuff happen that probably we had not seen in many decades. So, with that context, I think uh, the consolation there is that for most organizations, some themes are going to be dominant and prominent and common. And I'm going to call out some of those. So, for example, in times like these, when we see technology evolving, market landscape evolving, there will be an imperative for organizations to focus on productivity. This is new for the organizations. All of us have worked from offices largely, and now to have a blend of both. Productivity, I think, is going to be the first and foremost ask that the enterprises will focus on. And we are a little better placed at Max Life. We are in the top 25 great places to work, which means we have a culture which is fairly robust and strong, and that sustains us, helps us in times like these. We operate more on empowerment, more on trust than really on control. And therefore, while it will be an area of focus, it will not just be the only thing that we'll focus on. So I think productivity is going to be the topmost ask. Couple other themes that I think will be key for organizations to focus on will be themes of learning and development. I think, how do we continue to develop people? How do you continue to skill them? The original traditional accepted model of 70-20-10, where you have 70% learning on the job, 20% and 10% in classrooms and skilling. That model is under a threat now. How do you get to that same level of enhancement for our folks? So using technology, leveraging it to still keep that going will be another key ask. And then culture. How do you train leaders? How do you develop leaders when they don't have coming to work and they only interact virtually most of the time? That's clearly an ask that we will be focusing on. And again, having been a great place to work, I think we are in a better position than that. And finally, the operational challenges. There will be operational challenges of customers, and of course employees as well. How do you adapt customers? How do you set their expectations? How do you make them more willing to interact with us digitally? And similarly for employees, I think those would be some very dominant prominent themes for us all to focus on in times to come.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think yes, productivity, culture, learning. I think these are words and these are trends that we are seeing, really coming up in these times. Shakun, would you like to add something to the kind of, the top technology priorities emerging from this hybrid workplace that we're experiencing these days?
I think Shailesh has covered almost everything that is going to be super critical. I would just like to add two more points that are important there. In the context of the work culture and the kind of work arrangements that are emerging, the door that defined our family or personal life and our work life is kind of dissolved. It's not there anymore. So therefore what happens is that the whole culture piece is now including the family. So I say that the new age employee experience is about family experience. So therefore how do you have your processes, your mindsets, your leadership, your culture aligned to that? But most importantly, how do you upgrade your technology to make it compliant for that kind of a purpose? The other thing is essentially how do you leverage, and all this is in addition to what Shailesh has already said. The other thing is about how do you leverage your technology now to not only take care of the physical well-being of their people, the benefits and the policies, but also the mental well-being. Today, it is being seen that majority of the workforce, in fact, almost 78% people have said that this way of working has had a impact on their mental well-being, and therefore how technology can be leveraged. The good news is that artificial intelligence, machine learning, high-end analytics are now playing a very, very important role in helping organizations not only get insights about the mental well-being of their employees, but also help them. And I think that's a new technology trend that is emerging.
Great. I think thanks, Shakun. I think I do agree with you. I think mental well-being and also the whole families are being included in this entire change that we are experiencing. There are some very important points in this new normal. So thanks for sharing that, Shakun. I'll come to you again, Shailesh. So the BFSI sector has had to both scale up their operations as well as pivot their insurance policies, especially health, to adjust to these new realities. So how have these shifts in the last 6 to 7 months changed employee experience for you?
You rightly said, we have had to work both at the front end as well as the back end, which is operations, and this has meant really preparing ourselves to do everything digitally. Sales teams have really been used to interacting with customers in person, and this has now required a mindset change, where their own safety and customer safety has been the top ask, and we have really ensured that we stay safe, healthy, and comply with all the asks of the situation today. So that's one, preparing people mentally, preparing people to interact digitally in these times. And simultaneously we have had to really beef up technology, which means everyone has to be technologically connected, the front end and the back end both, and then getting customers as well, to understand the new reality, the new climate, and be willing to engage with us digitally. And we have made progress there. I think thankfully customers have also evolved to the ask, and we are now able to carry out our operations. Now, of course, the set of expectations and ask in both these constituencies has been a little different. While at the front end, it has meant still in some ways being able to get to customers and have them willing to reach out to you, allow you to connect with them. At the back end, it is more us, it is more internal. So you need to beef up, ensure everyone has a laptop, has the right kind of wi-fi, their home setups are right, and they are available during these times, the work hours, to be able to connect and support the sales teams at the front. So this coexistence of both the digital and the in person, because we do have customers visiting selectively our offices, and life is getting back to normal increasingly, I think is a challenge that we have been grappling with. And this has evolved from being extremely disruptive initially in the months of March and April, to today where life is almost, and we BAU, which is business as usual, more or less, with the necessary safety guidelines in place. I think business is almost resumed and is getting back to last year's levels.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I think when we started off, everything was a complete haywire, so much disruption happening. But I think, and the workload for especially the BFSI sector, I think increased like 4 times, 5 times, or even more. And the way organizations are like Max Life Insurance have handled this, I think that's commendable. So thanks for sharing that, Shailesh. I'll come to you now again, Shakun. And Shakun, I would like to ask you about the role of technology and how do you think technology has reshaped employee experience and especially in the BFSI sector?
So when we talk about BFSI, it's a very unique sector. Unlike, say, for example, a technology company like Oracle, where we all could almost work from home and we do not have like branch operations or walk-in customers coming in. BFSI is a very, very, very different world. The second very critical aspect of BFSI is the whole compliance and security framework, which is very, very different from some of the other organizations. So the first important role technology has played is how do you ensure remote working and at the same time manage the right kind of compliances. To give you an example, I may be allowed to access some data only from branch and locations or physical locations as per the guidelines or as per the policies, but other data I could access from my home as well. So can you give me a technology application which is intelligent enough to understand where I am and therefore what level of access should I have? Now, those are the futuristic, qualities of a rich applications. At Oracle, we have developed something like that. So what happens is employees are in a way restricted per the policy, but they are not restricted. The second thing is essentially how do you enable all the features and functionalities across devices and across location. Remember, in the older technologies, we had part of the work that we could do on our mobile devices, for example, and for the part of it, we would have to log back into our desktop systems. Now, all that is gone because employees now are working from wherever, whenever, and whichever device they want. So those are two important pieces. And lastly, as Shailesh also mentioned earlier, the whole compliances piece becomes very important. How do you maintain the safety, confidentiality, and the regulatory framework when we are looking at this culture? Needless to say, a lot has changed over the last 5 6 months. First 1 or 2 months were overwhelming, and everybody thought as to what we will do. Business is back as usual, in some cases more than usual, which is a great news. And lastly, I think technology has played a very important role in the way health and safety of the employees is managed. Earlier, I talked about the mental health, and it is even the physical health and tracking and giving the right kind of emergency responses in a very diverse and dispersed kind of workforce is something technology has beautifully done.
Absolutely agree. I think, and yes, the whole point on collaborating, I think technology has also helped. Yeah, I think technology has also helped, enable collaboration between so many dispersed teams across locations, across geographies. So I think yes, technology has played a huge role in the past few months, especially, and the BFSI sector is, witness to that. So yes, thanks, Shakun. Thanks for sharing that. So, Shailesh, my question to you is: what are the two, three things that you're doing differently when it comes to employee experience in your organization, especially in these times that we are living in now?
We have actually approached it broadly, from two angles. First, there is a professional side to an employee's task, role, responsibilities, and there we have ensured that they are as enabled as they were pre-COVID-19 times. So, which means some of the investments that we have made in technology have stood us well in these times. For example, we had invested into an Oracle HRIS about 7 years back, and therefore the ability of the enterprise to provide accurate employee information to supervisors for a variety of needs, learning and development, training, performance management, all of those have got much better over these years, and in times like today, that comes very handy. We have also invested into platforms like Workplace, which is a vibrant interaction platform for employees on professional matters. We have also invested into a company, Intranet, where we have functional repository of all information for different departments. And finally, we have a very active employee app with a lot of features that enables their day-to-day transactions, from leave to interview feedback and other, variety of, pay slips and or related stuff. So, the investment into the tech platforms has helped us in times like these to ensure that employees can continue to discharge their responsibilities unhindered today, almost as seamlessly now as they were able to do prior, even without coming to office. So there has been a professional side to it that we have done, and then there has been a personal and individual side to employees, which is more about, enhancing their experience from the perspective of, engagement, from the perspective of motivation and morale, from the perspective of culture. And we have worked on that as well. We completely understand that when you are into uncharted territory like COVID-19, kind of a crisis, there is no one size fits all or a perfected solution. So we've been learning on the go, starting with, getting them up on tech platforms, to subsequently, keeping them meaningfully motivated and engaged. A 21-day challenge that we launched, which included a mix of, puzzles and games and involvement of families, etc. I think we've been doing that to keep ourselves, interacting, with each other and connected. We've also been doing monthly pulse surveys with employees so that we get to know the mood of the organization in different pockets and departments, and are able to then stitch our responses according to that. And then, of course, regular recognition for employees. The fact that we do not come to office has not deterred us from disrupting something which has been our core strength, which is continue to recognize employees for their good work. And a lot of that is done, virtually. A lot of it is done through, we have an internal platform, kudos, through which, there are points that they accrue, and then those can be, utilized for different purposes. So it has been essentially a two-pronged approach, both on the professional side, ensuring that we keep the business going and them engaged, and second, as individuals, they remain high in terms of engagement. They and their families remain safe and engaged and interacting, all the time and in good frame.
Great. Those are some great initiatives. Thanks so much, Shailesh. I think Max is doing a great job in terms of creating that overall experience, winning the trust of your people. Times are so stressful. People are getting burnt out, and if you're looking at it in with such detail, and you're with different initiatives, I think that's a great job. So thanks for sharing that. Shailesh, my question to you would be again on what the role of leaders when it comes to boosting workplace experience. So if you could just elaborate a bit on that, please.
Leaders actually are at the hub of all that we do in Max Life, Yasmin. As I said, we have been a great place to work. We've been among the best companies to work for almost a decade now, and every year we have moved up on that rank. And you can only do that in any company is when you are able to sustain culture.
Yes.
And you can't sustain culture if it has not taken roots and your supervisors and leaders don't believe in it. Which is our strength today, that all our leaders, supervisors, really own culture, and we work through them. This is not really one function. This is not a HR department work that we do. Our supervisors own the people agenda. That's a reality in Max Life. So the role of leaders in Max Life is extremely important. It goes beyond interacting with customers. It goes beyond discharging responsibilities they have to the enterprise, uh, in terms of cost and product and all of that, or finance. They are a general manager in Max Life, which includes a very strong people and culture portfolio. So the role of leaders really has been to think end to end when they think of their teams. Right from hiring, folks, to ensuring that they're engaged well, to ensuring that the development continues unhindered, and then subsequently their performance appraisal and recognitions. All of those as a part of the portfolio are owned by supervisors, are leaders in Max Life. So this is the key to how we create success in Max Life and sustain Max Life. Leaders are at the hub, fulcrum of all action that happens in Max Life, Yasmin.
Absolutely, I think yes, and I think times of crisis are where the best leaders come out. So this is actually the time to see some best leadership qualities, mushroom out and show how what leaders need to do, and then that cascades down to the people. Shakun, would you like to add something to what leaders can do in terms of boosting workplace experience?
I mentioned that earlier that workplace is now limited, not limited to workplace. Our living place has become more of a workplace. So therefore, as the tagline of Max Life goes, your partner for life, leaders and managers are now going to be partners, mentors, and guide for the lives of people and not just the work life of people. And that's very, very critical. Things like empathy, coaching skills, being able to help people through their mental challenges is going to be very, very critical. There was a time when we used to believe in the fact that when I come and show up for work, I leave my family and my concerns behind, but that's not the case because now the work has invaded my workplace. And while it may not be the case in all the industries, but a large chunk of the working population across the globe will continue to work remotely, most of them permanently, and perhaps some business critical roles will only be, working from them. So therefore, leaders and managers, and Shailesh already mentioned this, that how do you ensure that the cultural fabric of the organization is felt in this remote kind of a working environment, and secondly, it is handed over to the next generation of employees, specifically the employees who are joining in this virtual kind of an environment.
Absolutely. Thanks for sharing that. I think the way you said that this is a hybrid work, we need leaders who can manage a hybrid work process, be it remote workplace, be it office workplace, workforce. I think, yes, I think we need leaders with qualities like that. So thanks for sharing that, Shakun. With that, we come to the rapid fire section of our interview today. And I'll ask you two quick questions to Shailesh as well as to Shakun. And I'd like
I,
to start with you,
I'm
Shailesh.
ready for
Yes,
it.
absolutely. So the first question will be for Salish. As a leader, what is that one top priority or key focus area you are currently focused on?
Let me get the okay. The topmost priority for us continues to be the mental and health of employees, the mental well-being and health of employees. Absolutely, the top priority.
Absolutely. Great. Thanks, Shailesh. Shakun, what is your one key priority right now?
Absolutely the same. In fact, we are a culture of high performance, and in this high performance culture, given the acceleration in business that the tech sector is seeing, we are seeing that employees are really burning them out, right? So, as Shailesh mentioned, it is pretty much the same for us, ensuring physical and mental well being of the people while we are executing our business plans and strategies.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thanks, Shakun. Shailesh, what is the one idea on leveraging technology to boost experience that you would like to share?
I have always found technology a big enabler of culture, which is our strength. And I would really want to leverage technology. A lot of people think uh, culture is just in person and culture is achieved through multiple other initiatives in the workplace. I don't agree with that. I think technology is very powerful in terms of enabling and disseminating and sustaining culture all across. I'm a big fan of technology, big advocate of technology to serve culture.
Great thought. Thank you so much. Shakun, what would you suggest? What's that one idea on leveraging technology to boost experience?
No, I'm lost of words because Shailesh said what I genuinely believe and what we do for a living every day. Technology does play a very important role in impacting the culture. If deployed improperly, it could actually damage the culture. If deployed properly, it could take culture to the next level. So I think how do you transform the culture to suit the current context and contemporary requirement is the most interesting aspect of working with technology to my mind.
All right, on that note, that was all that we had time for today's episode. Thank you so much, Shailesh and Shakun, for sharing such great insights with us. In fact, the times that we are living in today are going to be digital, the future is going to be digital. And how do organizations use technology to deliver the best employee experience to their people, to take care of their mental and physical well being, to create the right culture is what will make them the front runners in this. And I believe Max Life Insurance is already doing a great job at that. So thank you so much once again, Shailesh and Shakun, for sharing these great insights with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, these were Max Life Insurance's Shailesh Singh and Oracle Corporation's Shaakun Khanna sharing their insightful thoughts with us. We really hope you enjoyed watching it. Watch the conversation with our next industry leader in our next episode. Thank you so much once again. It was a great conversation. See you all in the next episode. Thank you and bye bye.